You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
We would encourage everybody to keep Deputy Flick's family in their thoughts and prayers, as well as the other people who were injured tonight. Definitely a sad day for our community, and we will get through it together.
For the third time in 37 days, a deputy in Colorado has been killed in the line of duty. This time, the tragedy hitting on our own home turf. Good evening, I'm Heather Skold.
And I'm Bart Bedsole. Thanks for making us your choice for local news at 10 o'clock. We have team coverage tonight on the shooting this afternoon that claimed the life of an El Paso County deputy, the latest deputy killed in a senseless act of violence. We begin with a closer look at what we know about the deadly confrontation today. It happened inside the Murray Hills Apartments near Galley and Murray in southeast Colorado Springs.
I heard the shot, then I come on out here.
Video broadcasted live on Facebook by a neighbor at the apartment complex.
We try and bring him back to life.
Shows a frantic scene. Paramedics desperately trying to save 3 people on the ground with critical injuries. Much of the video too graphic to share. The officers and deputies were part of an auto theft task force, a group made up of multiple agencies that specializes in stolen vehicles. And when they confronted their suspect today, disaster.
They were investigating a motor vehicle theft. They encountered an adult male suspect. A struggle ensued, and shots were fired.
When it was over, the suspect was dead at the scene. The others were all rushed to Memorial Central Hospital. In all, 6 people were shot. The suspect, a civilian hit by a stray bullet, a Colorado Springs police officer, and 3 El Paso County deputies, including Detective Micah Flick. The announcement coming from Sheriff Bill Elder just after 6 p.m.
It is with profound sadness that I say that this afternoon, Deputy Micah Flick, 34 years old, was shot in the line of duty and has died.
Tonight, there is no distinction between our uniforms, State Patrol, Sheriff's Office, and the Colorado Springs Police Department. Our hearts are all broken.
And tonight, we pause to remember the man who died serving and protecting this community, Deputy Micah Flick. It was 11 years ago today, Deputy Flick started his service with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office.
11 years serving. 11 years making our community a safer place. This day started like any other, ending like no one imagined.
Good evening, everybody. It is with profound sadness that I say that this afternoon, Deputy Micah Flick, 34 years old, was shot in the line of duty and has died.
Micah Flick, 34 years old. The detective worked his way through the ranks, starting at the Criminal Justice Center and Patrol.
Very, very well liked, very, very well respected.
Deputy Flick was an outstanding member of my agency, and he will be missed.
Deputy Flick is survived by his wife and twins, 7 years old. A grief never as deep as this.
And it was in 2016, we did an interview with Detective Flick. He talked to us about a rash of car break-ins and how to protect yourself.
Each criminal, some may go and break windows. Some actually look for the crime of opportunity where the door's unlocked, they see something in plain view, where they try to take items out.
And we have learned tonight that Deputy Flick was a 2002 graduate of Colorado Springs Christian Schools.
As you saw earlier, it was a chaotic scene at Galley and Murray in the minutes after the shooting at the Murray Hill Apartments. News Channel 13's Colleen Sikora has been on the scene all day. She is live once again tonight. Colleen?
Bart and Heather, crime tape is still up here on scene as law enforcement continue their investigation into what happened here. This is the most quiet that we've seen this scene all day, but earlier, chaos. A deputy calling frantically
21 Murray Hill Apartments. We got an officer down, at least one officer down.
Law enforcement rushing to the scene.
We need multiple ambulances.
Mary Flo Horan heard it all.
A little close for comfort.
She lives in the Murray Hill Apartments and was putting on her shoes to leave when shots rang out.
It was less than a minute, probably like only 30 seconds. I heard like a pop, and then there was a slight pause, and then I heard like a pop, 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 and then there was another pause, and I heard probably 1 or 2 more gunshots, and then it was over.
When she got outside, she ran into a man who she believes was the suspect.
I saw the guy come around the corner. He was limping really badly and holding in his hip, and he went inside my building.
All we have right now, suspect is in number 105. I don't have any further at this point.
Horan says she's seen him before and he lives at the complex. But it's this scene leaving Deputy Micah Flick dead, 2 deputies and 1 CSPD officer injured.
If I had not taken those 2 minutes to put on a different pair of socks and put on different shoes, I would have been outside when it happened.
And this witness reeling. Now, one lane of Murray just opened a little over an hour ago. As you can see, both CSPD and El Paso County Sheriff's Office still have mobile command centers on scene. Officers here say that they expect to be on scene for hours and into tomorrow morning. Live in Colorado Springs, Colleen Sikora, KRDO News Channel 13.
And maybe beyond that, Colleen, thanks. In addition to the suspect, the police officer, and the 3 county deputies shot, we told you about the civilian who was caught in the crossfire. And tonight we have learned his name is Thomas Villanueva. We spoke with his roommates who said Villanueva was on his way back from a restaurant when he was shot through the chest. The shootout happened in the parking lot right in front of his apartment. Villanueva was taken to Memorial Hospital and survived, but we currently don't know his exact condition.
And all afternoon, our cameras were kept at a distance from the scene. But when people who live at the Murray Hill Apartments were allowed to return home, we got a closer look at the crime scene and some exclusive video and interviews from witnesses. KRDO News Channel 13's Crystal Story continues our team coverage tonight.
Heather, the sights and sounds that witnesses saw at this crime scene earlier today will not be easily forgotten. We talked to one man who literally hid under a stairwell while shots were fired.
He went down right before me, maybe 20 foot out in front of me.
When he heard the shots, he hid in his apartment, scared for his life.
Very, very exhilarating, I could say the least. My heart rate was going 100 miles an hour.
This video shot from a balcony just feet from where the shooting happened.
Walking by the stairs, and there's like a wing window you can look out as you walk by. As I was approaching the window, I heard a couple pops, rapid fire, like 2 or 3 shots. And as I turned to the window and looked out, I saw a bunch of people scattering and moving in on one guy.
For those who saw and heard the whole thing, falling asleep won't be easy. Now the man who led us on his balcony actually came home just after 4:30 to find his entire apartment complex closed off. He had to wait 2 hours until just after 6 when that parking lot was reopened. In Colorado Springs, Crystal Story, KRDO News Channel 13.
Crystal, thanks. Just after the incident, the injured deputies and injured officer were taken to Memorial Central Hospital in Colorado Springs. That is also where a procession began to transport the remains of Deputy Flick to the coroner's office. KRDO News Channel 13's Casey Kirshner has been there all night. She joins us with the latest. Casey.
The last we heard, the Colorado Springs officer who was injured was in surgery here at the hospital but was in stable condition. We also reached out to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and the hospital here to try to get the conditions of the other deputies that were injured, but we haven't heard back yet tonight. But I will say the community is already rallying behind the law enforcement in our area.
Following the shooting, first responders jumped into action, bringing the injured here to Memorial Central. The emergency area was closed at the hospital for a time, but after a while, the frantic moments turning into somber faces. The officers and deputies here learning that one of their own had passed and others were hurt.
We would encourage everybody to keep Deputy Flick's family in their thoughts and prayers, as well as the other people who were injured tonight.
To honor the fallen deputy, a procession from the hospital to the coroner's office.
This is one way that we honor our own And we would encourage you to participate as we honor the life of this fallen deputy.
Hundreds lining the streets, all to remember a hero taken too soon.
A very, very sharp, put together guy, very, very well liked, very, very well respected. It is a loss for our agency. It is a loss for our community.
With the community rallying around our law enforcement, showing their support in this tragic time.
This is our way of giving back to them and saying thank you for not only your service, but for paying the ultimate sacrifice.
We were also told tonight that the funeral plans have started for Deputy Flick, and of course we'll pass those along to you just as soon as we get them. Live in Colorado Springs, Casey Kirshner, KRDO News Channel 13.
Casey, thank you. And people at the tail end of that procession also came out in force to honor the fallen deputy, waiting in the cold and windy night, all to say thank you to a man who gave the ultimate sacrifice. KRDO News Channel 13's Chase Golightly was there and spoke to those paying their respects.
The flag was set to half staff outside the El Paso County Corrections Center. The sheriff's deputies, police officers, and dozens of those in the community came together to say goodbye to Deputy Micah Flick.
I think it's just a sad loss for the community. It's just a sad loss for the community.
Law enforcement leaning on each other, embracing in the face of grief. People bringing flags to show support. Dozens waited for the long motorcade to bring the fallen deputy. After driving from the hospital where Flick was pronounced dead, people stood in silence, watching as the cars and motorcycles drove by. Then when the hearse carrying Flick arrived, tears were shed and a final salute was given. Those who attended the procession say their thoughts and prayers are with family, friends of Deputy Flick. Others saying it's comforting to see the community come together to support our law enforcement during a deadly year.
Everybody hates everything all the time lately, and it's good to show this much love. You know, you don't see a whole lot of it.
Many praying that the other deputies injured in the shooting will be okay.
And thankfully, this is not a common occurrence in southern Colorado, but Colorado Springs is no stranger to tragedy in the line of duty. Most recently, on November 27th of 2015, UCCS campus police officer Garrett Swayze was shot and killed as he responded to the Planned Parenthood shooting. The legal status of the shooter, Robert Deere, remains in limbo as he undergoes mental treatment before he can stand trial. Before that, you have to go back to 2006. That's when CSPD officer Jared Jensen was killed while attempting to arrest a parolee wanted for attempted murder. The suspect was eventually captured and convicted in 2008. And viewers may also remember the case of Officer Ken Jordan. Jordan was shot and killed after pulling over a suspected drunk driver back in December of 2005. The suspect was shot and taken into custody and is now serving a life sentence.
And of course, this all comes on the heels of two deadly shootings involving deputies in the Denver metro area. It was the morning of New Year's Eve when a group of deputies was ambushed at the Copper Creek Apartments in Douglas County. Deputy Zachary Parrish was gunned down when a suspect opened fire during a standoff. 3 other deputies and a Castle Rock police officer were wounded in that confrontation. Then just 3 weeks later, Adams County Deputy Heath Gum was shot in the chest by a suspect while responding to reports of a street fight. Gum was killed despite wearing a bulletproof vest and was laid to rest this past Friday. We will continue to bring you updates and alerts as soon as they happen. Just be sure and download our KRDO News app. You can find it in your app store.
We'll also have complete coverage tomorrow on Good Morning Colorado from 4:30 a.m. to 7 o'clock. We don't want to go ahead and take a short break. First up, though, a peek at some big weather changes that are coming overnight. Stacey.
That's right. A cold front has pushed through, dropping our temperatures, and it's created an area of some light snow across southern Colorado, mainly I-25 and Highway 50. I'll explain how long the snow sticks around and how much we could end up with, all coming up in just a few minutes.
And we're also tracking that big news on Wall Street. The market suffering through a huge correction today. The results, the largest one-day loss in stock history.
But first, the verdict is in. The results looking somewhat familiar. We'll tell you what happened today in the corruption trial of former El Paso County Sheriff Terry Makita. Today, a judge declared another mistrial for former El Paso County Sheriff Terry Makita. KRDO News Channel 13's Dana Clements has been in the courtroom since the beginning of the retrial and has more on today's mixed verdict.
The jury found Terry Makita not guilty on the official misconduct charges, and once again, it was hung on the extortion and conspiracy to commit extortion counts. Those were the charges the jury could not come to an agreement on last summer.
We, the jury, find the defendant Terry Makita not guilty of first-degree criminal misconduct.
Acquitted on 2 misdemeanor counts, hung on 2 felonies. The 7-woman, 5-man jury came to the decision after nearly 13 hours of deliberation. A very similar outcome to the ex-sheriff's first trial.
It shows, though, that these are complex charges, that these are tough charges, and certainly these were not frivolous charges, as 2 juries deliberated for over 21 hours on these charges.
Prosecutor Mark Hurlbert expressed his disappointment after the verdict.
Although we are disappointed in the not guilty verdicts, absolutely respect this jury 100%. They obviously took their time and were very serious about these charges, and we appreciate all their time and all their hard work on this.
It was a very different reaction from Makita and his team, huddling and smiling in the courtroom, then walking out to say, "We are very pleased with the outcome." This is a huge blow to prosecution because it's the second time a jury has acquitted the former sheriff on some charges and hung on the others. Last summer, a jury acquitted Makita of witness tampering, conspiracy to commit witness tampering, and official misconduct. This retrial centered around Terry Makita's intent when he made certain decisions as sheriff. Prosecution argued that he abused his power to retaliate for political reasons, while defense said he was just trying to do his job.
No word yet if prosecution will retry the former sheriff again, but both parties will be back to discuss what's next at the end of the month. Reporting in the studio, Dana Clemens, KRDO News Channel 13.
And to your money now, the Dow plunged more than 1,500 points on Wall Street today. Even after a slight rebound, the market closed 1,175 points down, the biggest one-day point drop in history.
When the market pulls back, and particularly as sharply as we've seen in recent days, there's this natural tendency to think, oh no, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong. What you're seeing is just some profit taking because of the fact that interest rates are going up.
Tax cuts and deregulation have helped fuel the Dow. It's gone up 21% in just the past year, but with such dramatic climbs come volatility. The climb could also prompt the Federal Reserve to hike interest rates. Stacey?
Winter weather alerts are in place over the mountains where they're expecting anywhere from an additional 2 to even 10 inches, plus parts of the eastern plains under a winter weather advisory as well. We have snow falling across southern Colorado right now. I'll tell you how much we could see coming up in just a little bit. Welcome back. We have a weather alert day for some snow that's falling across southern Colorado right now, expected to provide a few slick spots for the morning commute tomorrow. Here's our Pueblo Chieftain camera, and you can see some of that snow falling. It's been ongoing now for about an hour and a half. There's also snow coming down in Fountain. This is our Ceramic Landscape Materials Neighborhood Weather Network camera. So some snow you can see on live HD Doppler radar, mainly along I-25 and Highway 50, really south of Highway 50. We're not expected to see a lot of that snow. It's going to continue to be basically in these bands and continue throughout the overnight hours, perhaps even lingering into the early morning hours tomorrow. Notice that we're not finding a lot of snow right now around Colorado Springs. That's really around the area. Pueblo has had some ongoing snow along with Canyon City, but here's a view right now in Colorado Springs. Our overhead door camera showing some of those low clouds that continue to build down behind that cold front that's moved through, and it is lowering our visibility. 2 miles in Colorado Springs, 1 mile visibility now in Pueblo, and 1.7 in Canyon City. So reduced visibility due to some of that light snow, which is expected to continue as we head throughout the overnight hours. I will pause this for your morning commute. Notice there's not a lot of snow showing up here on Skycast, but that's not to say that we still couldn't see a few slick spots. So do use caution tomorrow, and mainly that snow is going to be ending from north to south on Tuesday. As far as what we're expecting for amounts, I think many places are going to end up with anywhere from a trace to 2 inches, maybe some spots like Teller County and El Paso County seeing closer to 3 inches by the time it's all said and done, about a trace to an inch across the eastern plains and over near Walsenburg as well. Notice south of Highway 50, not as much. Temperatures tonight going down into the 20s and the teens, and those highs tomorrow staying chilly in the 30s and the 40s. Here's a look at our Woodland Park. We have 40% chance for that snow tomorrow. Again, we have that weather alert in place.
looking ahead to next weekend, another chance for some snow moving in, but the second half of the work week going to be rather mild and quiet, and it's really not until the weekend that we have those snow chances return for Canyon City. So again, weather alert tomorrow, highs in the 30s, then we get back into the 50s, a quiet end to the work week, cooling off again for the weekend. In Pueblo, again, some snow early on tomorrow. That will be ending. We'll be left with the cold temperatures. Then we warm up. And again, watching Saturday and Sunday, it could be pushed to just Saturday or Sunday, depending on how things trend in the next couple of days. In Colorado Springs, 38 tomorrow. Again, some slick spots possible for that morning commute with the snow that's falling tonight. So do use caution, give yourself a little extra time, and those temperatures warming up for the rest of the week. So no problems in terms of roadways. And then our next storm system comes in for the weekend.
Bit of an odd snow tonight. Seems like Pueblo, Fountain, areas to the south getting the bulk of it, whereas north of town, which normally gets it,
right?
on the
It's
dry
opposite.
end, right?
Yeah. Completely opposite this time around with this pattern.
Give the other half a chance for a while.
Yeah.
Stacey, thanks.
Well, all of us are still recovering from last night's Super Bowl.
Pretty thrilling.
What a game,
Yeah,
huh?
it really was. When the Patriots are involved, that's usually the case. We'll check in with the winners, the MVP of the Super Bowl, the unlikely MVP of the Super Bowl, coming up in Sports Plus. The Nuggets hitting the hardwood hard tonight. Do you know if they could win? All right.
I think the good news, absolutely no.
My father and mother told me to stay after my dream. And I've officially accomplished the best thing in this sport with a group of guys who mean the world to me.
I think that's one of the reasons why the Eagles won the Super Bowl last night, is they have a bunch of players on their roster who love the game of football. Now, most people didn't think Nick Foles would be able to outduel Tom Brady, the GOAT, but he did in last night's Super Bowl. As Foles, who was the Eagles backup quarterback for most of the season, led them to their first ever Super Bowl title. When the confetti fell, his 7-month-old daughter Ellie and his wife were on the field with him to share in the moment.
That's what it's about. This journey, getting to see my wife and my daughter. My daughter won't know anything that's going on. She's 7.5 months old, but just to look in her eyes, the whole world slowed down. And just seeing her look at the confetti, to look at my wife's eyes and embrace her and just know that I get to spend the rest of my life with her.
Former beloved Bronco Ed McCaffrey has a new job and a new challenge. Eddie Mack has been named the head football coach at Valor Christian High School. Now, McCaffrey doesn't have any coaching experience at any level, although his 4 sons, they all played at Valor, including his youngest Luke, who will be a senior in the team starting quarterback next season. McCaffrey will be introduced tomorrow. The young Nuggets are a team on the rise. And one thing you notice when you watch them is they're not like most NBA teams. They play hard on most nights, and they're hungry and driven by victories. Gary Harris and the Nuggets hosting the Hornets this evening. Gotta love the effort here. Cody Zeller thinks he has an easy 2, but Torrey Craig comes out of nowhere with the block. He would hit the floor hard. He'd be okay. The Nuggets okay tonight. They win 121-104. Finally, it's time to take a look back at some of the top prep performances of the week with a segment we call Slap Me Some Skin. We go back to last Monday when Zach Swain of Palmer came up with a hat trick, 3 goals and a Terrors win. And for that, you can slap me some skin. On Thursday, the Duke Carey of Doherty poured in 26 points in a victory. And for that, you can slap me some skin. On Friday, Noah Martinez of Falcons scored 24, albeit in a loss. But for that, you can slap me some skin. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty this week, the state championships for swimming, and the week after, state high school wrestling championships.
Oh, wow. So it all comes to this.
It's good stuff.
Rob, thanks. We'll be right back. And we continue following breaking news of an El Paso County deputy killed in the line of duty.
As soon as the news broke, law enforcement agencies all across the state took to social media with tributes. Springs Police and the El Paso County Sheriff's Office are still reeling with the recent deputy deaths in Adams and Douglas counties.
The departments wrote on Twitter and Facebook asking for your support and thoughts after Deputy Micah Flick's death. We would also like to extend our own sympathies to the family of Deputy Michael Flick and also the entire El Paso County Sheriff's Office family. You can see more tributes on our website, KRDO.com. That is it for tonight, but our news continues in the morning with Abby, John, and Shannon.
That starts at 4:30 in the morning. They will continue our tribute to El Paso County Deputy Micah Flick, killed today in the line of duty. He is survived by his wife and 7-year-old twins. Today was his 11th anniversary with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office.